Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are fine and doing well. So, in our today's lesson, we will discuss about the term chromatography. So, basically, chromatography it is an important application of the distribution phenomena. So, it is mainly the phenomena of distribution. Here, the distribution of the components of the sample. When we have the components of the samples and a sample mixture, all the components get distribute itself into the different phases. So the term chromatography was originally applied by the Michael Sweat. He was a Russian botanist and he just gave that term in 1906. So the year here we have 1906. Basically, chromatography it is a physical separation of the mixture into its individual components. It means all the components get separated from the mixture of the sample. So this is known as mainly the individual components separation. On the other hand, the chromatography is mainly the word which is Greek, and the word Greek we have over there it is chromates, like we called it as chromatography. So the word is chromate. Chromates means simple color writing. So chromatography means simple the color writing. It is used in many scientific fields, used in many subjects, and it also applied to the analytical field. So basically we can call it as the analytical process. So it is also the separating process in which we just do the separation of the components of the sample and they get distributed itself. So it happens on the process of distribution law as well. Next we have phases in the chromatography. Basically there are two phases in the chromatography. The first one phase we have stationary phase and the second one we have the mobile phase. Now what is the difference between the stationary phase and the mobile phase? Chromatography is mainly primarily method that is used for the separation. So it involves in which the sample or the components distributes itself, and it distributes itself in two phases. The number one is stationary and the second one we have the mobile phase. So when we are talking about the stationary phase it may be solid or it may be a liquid. So stationary phase may be of two types, the solid as well as the liquid. And it is also spotted as a thin film on the surface of a solid. So it can also be spotted as the thin film on the surface of inert solid. So this is a simple stationary phase. Next we have the mobile phase. The mobile phase it always flowing over the stationary phase. So it is flowing over stationary phase. When it is flowing over the stationary phase, so it may be of two types, and these types may be a gas or it may be a liquid. So the main thing is mobile phase. The mobile phase mean flowing, or the word we can also use it as the moving phase. So when we have two phases, so here the sample just distribute itself into the two phases. The one is stationary and the second one is the mobile phase. So when in chromatography the substances are separated due to their relative affinities for the two phases. So we have to check the affinities of the samples. affinities of the sample components towards these two phases. When the component of the mixture are distributed itself between the two phases, there we have a law, or we have the coefficient. That coefficient is known as the distribution coefficient, that is denoted as K. In this picture we can see that here the number 1, we are going to take the simple chromatographic tank. So here we have the solvent. The number 2, we have filter paper or chromatograph. And the third one, here we have the ending line. This is the end line. And here these colored pictures showing the distribution of the components. So this is mainly the distribution of components. So this is all about the stationary phase and the mobile phase. Next we will discuss about the distribution coefficient. Now when we're talking about the distribution coefficient, it is mainly the ratio of the concentration of components in the mobile moving phase or the mobile phase to the concentration of the components in the stationary phase. So we can also write it as K is equal to components, the concentration of components in mobile phase, and it is divided by the concentration of the components in stationary phase. So when the two components get distribute themselves in the two phases, now how we can check the value of the K? So the number point over here we have, when the component of mixture is having the small value of K, and there is small K, so the components remains in the stationary phase, as the moving phase flows over it. So they keep themselves in the stationary phase. On the other hand, when the components are having a very large value of K or the greater value of K, then they remains largely dissolved in the mobile phase. When they are in the mobile phase and the phases over the stationary phase. So this is a simple chromatography and its distribution law. Next we have chromatography, in which the stationary phase is solid. Its type, it depends upon the solid whether it is liquid. Then the type of chromatography will be adsorption chromatography. On the other hand, we have a lot of other types of the chromatography. So let's have a look on it. The first one, chromatography, is known as the paper chromatography. The second, we have thin layer chromatography. It is also known as TLC. The third one, we have gel chromatography. Then we have the column chromatography, ion exchange chromatography, gel filtration, gas liquid, and the affinity chromatography. All these types of the chromatography has been used, and in this we use the different phases, and we have two phases. The first one, we have stationary phase, and the second we have the mobile phase. So about the paper chromatography, we will discuss it in the next section, because our next topic is the paper chromatography. So you guys have a good day, and Allah Hafiz.